I wanted to do the presentation in English because we have some people here who don't understand German or are not native German speakers. When we are talking about the Habitat, the natürliche Lebensumgebung for software developers, we have to think about, of course, the technology we are living in, we are using to develop our software. And I think software and software development is widely not yet understood correctly, because many people don't think about the soft in software, and they more think about these as being technical systems that can be engineered, like people are engineering bridges or other things that are long-lasting and don't change. So they think software development is a production process, whereas it is a creative process. And when we heard about those agile car projects, the agile part of this is not the production, but the development. And therefore software is a social, technical system, and software development as well. And I think up to now the human aspect and the social aspect of software development is not really considered properly yet. Of course, the whole agile and lean movement and the ideas behind aim at doing this, but I think and our experiences pointed to this direction that we can improve on this. If we're thinking about the Agile Manifesto, which is in the background displayed in Portuguese. I'm a fan of Lisbon, so that's not by chance. Okay. One of the Agile values is that individuals and interactions are more important than processes and tools. But still, of course, we need tools to put these interactions into action. And the Agile practices, which often people don't look at, they just, when you go to the Agile Manifesto webpage, you look at the first page where the values are, and you don't scroll down and click on the principles. But the principles are as important, to my mind. And I've just taken 3 of those many principles, and one of them is about self-organization. So the teams should be self-organizing. The other one is also about the people. Our concern is here, people. You need motivated individuals. As Jürgen pointed out in his keynote, motivation comes from being happy, from satisfaction. And of course you need an environment that supports motivation. And the last thing that I think is still very important is the communication aspect. The tagline of this conference is collaborate and communicate, and that's also why I was so keen to present here, because it's real-time collaboration is about collaboration and communication. And the most efficient and the most effective way to communicate is face-to-face. How does this map to the way we work, as I call the habitats for a developer? Classically, we have the single developer who sits in his room and develops something which is perfectly okay. There are good system that can come out of such an attempt. Also, Jürgen referred to his personal system he is using. But in the end, most of the time, the project we have is just too big to do it alone, or the time pressure is there, so we have to work together. And this is clear also already from the beginning of software development. And so the teams use some ways to coordinate their work. The other typical habitat is you have a few or many or very many individual developers working on the same project. This work is done in an asynchronous way. So everybody is working. He checks out, as we've just seen, he checks out the code from a repository, checks it in again. And only when the check-in is done, all the tests are run and you see the conflicts and so on. Very similar is actually the agile way it is done today. We don't have singles, we have pairs. But still the pairs are working in an asynchronous way. Now let's come to the idea that we had about 2 years ago. How would it be if people could really work synchronously on the source code? So that everybody on the team could change every code, every artifact, be it tests or be it the code, the method, the class definition, whatever, and they are in a collaborative way, synchronously, at the same time. And everybody could see what the other one is doing and the result of this. By doing this, the artifacts itself become a means of communication. It looks like this. It's not a pair, because both of the girls have their own keyboard. We are talking about people, and we are socialized from our forefront, I don't know the English word. We are living in small groups. We are not like here 100 people. That's not typical for our way to live, and that's how we think and our brain is organized even today. So this developer group that's working in a real-time collaboration way is not a swarm. Some people call it swarming, but I don't think that's a proper way, because a swarm is something like very many individuals, and those individuals don't need to have personal intelligence. They don't have to be smart or whatever. They just have local interaction, and the swarm behavior is emerging from just these very simple rules. You have swarm behavior, bees and ants, but even molecules are exhibiting swarm behavior. Whereas we as a developer team, we are people, we have a mind, we have a creativity, and we are more acting like a pack. That is, we bring into the group all our knowledge and all our background, and we work nonetheless in a coordinated way, such that the whole pack achieves the goal. What happens is, I've chosen this photo by intent. What happens is we are living in sort of a virtual reality with our code. Our code is this virtual reality. And if we're thinking about the technology of such a real-time collaboration environment, it has to be multi-user, of course. You need avatars for each developer. It has to be an environment that gives you instant feedback. No latency. Probably, I hate when I have to phone with people, for instance, South Africa, because it's usually going via satellite and you have all this latency and I can't talk. I'm just talking when the other one is talking and so on. So, no latency is very important. That means you need incremental compilation, so that you have when you have done the change, it must compile immediately and be available for everybody immediately. It has to cope with incomplete code, and it needs context-aware testing. We've just seen continuous delivery, and we've seen continuous integration, which I think is very important for the technology we have today. It's the way you should run your project. But in such a real-time collaboration environment, at least as the one that we are using in our experiments, we are always integrated. We don't have an integration step. And this moves the complexity to the testing. Because now you have the problem that your tests may fail for different reasons. Not only because you've done something wrong, but maybe somebody else changed something that's relevant to your test, or somebody changed the tests. So the test runner must be more smart to tell why the test failed. In real-time collaboration, what happens is immersion. You're dragged into this virtual reality, just like in an online game or something. I have a small video, but this PC here can't run this video. It gives complete transparency to everybody on the team. So it's, let's say, equalizing everybody, every member. There's no hierarchy. There's nothing hidden. It increases the interaction between the people, and I call it potentiation, because your knowledge and your skills are not just accumulated, but by the interaction with your colleagues, it's more than the sum. And you're getting into the flow, and it's very fast-paced development and interaction going on, and you also move fluently between the different roles that you have, the testing and coding and researching. So it's a very dynamic environment. Kent Beck said in 2008 that he thinks that in the next decade, so the decade we are in, that real-time fine-grained collaboration will become common in the tools and of course in the processes. We found this quote only after we started to experiment with this, like many other things. We invented from the experiences we had with our experiments, we invented a process that tries to leverage the characteristics of real-time collaboration, which we call wolfpack programming, because it takes as a metaphor the hunting strategies of wolves. Interesting part is wolves, they live in groups of 3 to 8, 11, 12 individuals. So same as the ideal size of a development team, which has of course to do with again our brain. Our brain is able to handle about 8 individual things, and if you consider a 9th one, everything falls down and you have to regroup so that you get again to the 8. And of course this limits also your communication with other individuals to a certain kind and to a certain number, and that's why 8 is so the upper level of a good team. So wolves hunt they live in groups of few individuals. They roam a territory. In the territory they are looking for a herd with animals that they could get and chase and hunt and eat in the end, because they are hungry, of course. And what happens then is, when they found a herd, individual wolves will attack individual prey animals, and to try which is a weak one, which is a young one, which is the best to go after. After this small phase of individual testing prey animals, the pack as a whole will decide which of the animals will ultimately be chased. And then all the wolves chase this selected animal, and if it runs away, the pack is happy, because the biggest chance that they will get and kill this prey is when it tries to flee. But for instance, big prey animals like moose, they don't run away, they stand their ground. And what happens then is that the wolves encircle the prey animal, and only 2 wolves attack. And when the 1 or 2 of the 2 wolves get tired, they go into the circle, and from the circle another one will substitute and continue to attack. This can go for hours, and the ultimate goal is that the prey should choose to run away, so that all the wolves can chase it and kill it in the end. And our real-time collaboration process maps this to software development. So the territory is our domain, is our source code. The herds of the prey animals are our requirements, and the individual prey is the implementation of a requirement. The testing, the phase is a spiking phase, where different implementations are tried out by the developers. And after the spiking phase, the team will choose the one implementation that looks the most promising one. And then the whole team will program, everybody with its own keyboard, not pair programming, and implement this. And if they get stuck on a problem, they will turn into this sort of intensified mode, where 2 developers will concentrate only on that specific problem that's holding back from progress, and the other ones will rest. Resting means further research, thinking about other solutions to the problem, because everybody from the resting developers could be swapped into. They still have to contribute to for the progress. We've run several workshops with real-time collaboration. Out of this came this Wolfpack programming idea, and if I look at our responses, 90% of the participants say, that was fun. And fun is what we need to be happy on our job, of course. About half of the people say, I'd like to try it again. And about 80% of the people say, I can imagine there are use cases where this is a good thing to do. They say maybe not for the whole development process, but maybe for attacking specific problems, researching a new domain or part of the domain or something like this. Some quotes of our wolves. One said, it's pair programming on steroids. In a way, that's correct, because the idea of pair programming is that you get a constant review of your code, and that you distribute your knowledge through the team by constant rotation. So in XP, you should not pair program all the time with the same pair, but you change the pairs. In real-time collaboration, you have also this, because you work together, typically what happens is you work together in twins or triples, so 2 or 3 developers that code on the same code and contribute to the same code. And those twins and triples are not fixed, so they change ad hoc as it suits. So one developer can switch from his current twin to another twin. And by this you have much more immediate distribution of your knowledge and skills. And you have, of course, also this idea of the constant review, especially you have collective code ownership in a very radical way, because nobody owns the code, or everybody owns the code all the time. You don't check out. You're programming on the live application. And another quote is, this may make the daily Scrum obsolete. It's a question that I get very often. How do you want to manage this? What's your suggestion? And typically I say you can use Scrum, you can use Kanban, whatever you like. Sometimes I'm a little bit heretic, and I have a little bit doubts about, for instance, the Scrum Master. It looks a little bit waste to me, this role. No, this not the role, but that it's tied to a person. And I think there may be something to this. It's not a must, but I think it's a potential. We are running, as I said, we are running real-time collaboration workshops at conferences. I would have liked to run one here, but it's at least half-day workshop, so it's not possible in a one-day conference. We will do sort of an introduction into real-time collaboration, not using our Wolfpack approach, but we will be using Google Docs to have some insights into collaboration within the team and between teams. We will be doing this on XP Days in Hamburg in November this year. And of course we are free to organize Wolfpack programming workshops with whoever is interested. I just did one two weeks ago in Nokia, at Nokia in Berlin, and a public one at the Nokia offices in Berlin. So everybody who thinks this could be interesting, just send me an email, contact me during the lunch break, whatever. The motto of this conference is collaborate and communicate, and I've cut down my presentation deliberately to just a very few slides because I want more to discuss with you. And usually this slide doesn't have a question mark, but my question to you as software professionals, developers, whatever, do you think that such an intense way of working together is something that you reckon is broadly applicable, or would you say no? If somebody could take a microphone and if somebody wants to ask questions or comment on this.
Mikrofon ist an, hört man mich? Ja. Mag jemand dazu Stellung nehmen? Kann man sich das vorstellen?
Do you think this is highly dependent on the technology you use? Because technology must enable the real-time collaboration of the developers. And do we have the technology?
We have the technology. In our workshops we're using, of course, a Smalltalk environment, which I think is best suited to implement such a real-time collaboration environment. But the environment that we are using is not for sale, so it's not advertising or something. It's just a prototype, but it could be easily turned into a real solution for real projects. But there are also, all over the world, people working on such environments, not using Smalltalk. So if you think, for instance, about cloud-based environments like Cloud9, they are having collaborative editors, and I think there's an Eclipse plugin that's aiming at the same. What I think is special about Smalltalk is that you have this always integrated technology, because Smalltalk is based on an image, and an image is sort of a read-write executable where you can change the source code at one time. And if you put a multi-user front-end to this, you just have what you want. But that was not really the question that I'm asking here. What I found is, in our workshops, some people get very quiet and don't contribute. And I think that's there are two reasons for this. First of all, in our education, we are not trained to collaborate. We are trained to work on our own and be proud of what we have achieved. The second observation is it's a very high communicative environment, and some people just can't cope with this high, this much communication. And the third observation is some people are sort of timid. They fear the transparency of the system. And my personal point of view is that with a little bit of coaching and training, as every new process needs, you can even get those people to be integrated in such an environment, because ultimately it's giving you the joy of achieving something and the joy of working together. So I think if we're extending this also to DevOps and customer collaboration, we can't really have those people not working together. So they have to speak together. What we also found is that the group dynamics is very positive, because if you see how the others are progressing, you're also you see the whole thing progress. You just don't see just your tiny little thing progressing, but the whole group. And the people help each other. They don't hide in their box. And also self-organization is enhanced, because the transparency gives you the ability to see things that others maybe don't see and take action. And it's very flat. It's not a very very high hierarchy, and so self-organization is promoted. What you have to take care of is that you don't let what sometimes happens, let it drift into uncoordinated chaos. But usually even this is mitigated by the group dynamics.
I have a question. Are there any patterns that emerged kind of for collaboration, like one part of the team is creating the unit test and the other one is creating the software, or do you have any concrete example how this distribution could work?
As I said, you don't have a specialization usually in the groups. In our workshops we promote the idea of test first. Not every group is selecting to do test first, but I've never seen that people are choosing to be testers or test writers, and the other one, the coders. They see this as a single task, and those twins and triples collaborate on the same implementation feature. So maybe how do you want the unit of work?
It sounds to me that this approach is Kanban work in progress equals one. Is it for the whole team? That if the whole team is a wolf pack, and the wolf pack hunts one prey, and the prey is one task, is it? So it seems quite a lot of effort to do one task with the whole team.
No.
Does it pay off?
The prey is one story, one user story. And the user story usually breaks down into different parts of the implementation. And in, say, classical managers used to look at pair programming as a waste of effort because two people are doing the same. And in this case, three people are working on the same thing, but they are working. So everybody has its own keyboard and is coding, tests, implementation, whatever, and researching what needs to be done. And so it's not all the, say, 8 people are coding on one thing, because that would break the limit of communication. And another thing I'd like to mention, of course, this could be used in distributed teams, but I don't like distributed teams because it's a barrier for the communication. And what's very essential is here that you have a back channel, an open channel where you have a view of what's happening in the whole team. And if your part of your team is a story above or on another continent, you don't have this back channel. Or you have to use something like teleconferencing and stuff, which I think is for many reasons not desirable.
I did not get the idea of the face-to-face communication. Can you comment on that? So if a triple or a pair is collaborating, so it is necessary that they communicate to each other face-to-face, I think.
Sorry, once again.
Okay. Okay, I did not get the idea of the face-to-face communication.
If you're working on a pack, you're working in the tool, and the tool shows you what you're doing in the code. But it doesn't have the verbal communication. Of course, you can or could add something like ARM or some other texting or commenting facility, which is not implemented in our prototype environment. But you, of course, need to talk to your collaborators. And if you're working with a twin or triple, you're sitting together and talking. But you also need to be able to get aware if the other triple over there has a problem, and you know the solution to the problem, that you can change over. We see this happening in the workshops. Therefore, you need to have, say, end-to-end communication, and you need to have broadcast communication.
Okay, but face-to-face communication is still an important part of this process.
Some more questions?
Yes, I would have another question, maybe.
So I think one prerequisite for making that really work in the long run is to have a very high coverage of tests. So do you have any plans to be kind of very strict of what to commit? Only if it has a 100% coverage, you're only allowed to commit it then, or how is that working? I mean, sometimes units will break because somebody changed something right now, but he hasn't just completed his kind of transaction maybe. About that.
I would say this is the question when your system is ready to deploy. From my personal point of view, you should do test first, and you should have your acceptance tests green to be ready to deploy. Whether this means 100% test coverage is a different question. And with this environment, because it's always integrated, deployment just is whatever you need to do, either save the image or write out a parcel to load it into the runtime environment, or whatever you choose to be your deployment strategy.
So I have also a question. As I have understood you right, correct, all the guys in the team are working on the same code, so they have always the same view to the code in real time. So I think being also developer some years ago, still develop a little bit, it could be quite difficult because try something, to craftsmanship, something not working still correct, but we have to polish it up. And if you are still in this open environment, then you have a problem to do always the polished software, I think, isn't it?
I don't think so. I think it's no question that you sometimes need also to have your own time to think about something. And I think it's a matter of just choosing to have this, and maybe you take one of your co-developers as a Sparringspartner to take your time off on this specific issue. Maybe you put it into this standoff phase that I explained in the Wolfpack mode, but Wolfpack is not a necessary approach to real-time collaboration. Real-time collaboration you can do with any, you can do rational unified process if you want to. Real-time collaboration, it's just giving you the environment, the habitat, to more intensively collaborate with your team members. And if you want to shut the door, then you go and shut the door. That's my personal take.
No more questions? Then I will thank Helge for his talk.
I say thank you for letting me give this talk, and